A very warm welcome, Bridge Mohan Bhai. I know it's your evening time, so a particular thanks to you for giving us this time for the evening. Is everything okay your end?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. We can see you nicely. We can see you really nicely. So I'll just add a couple of things to the introduction that Ranjan Ben gave, because it's relevant to our conversation today. You've been a chartered accountant since 1956. So your background is with finance, and you've been with the Brahma Kumara since 1955, which is a very long time, full-time since 1973. You're now Additional Secretary General, and you're also one of the organization's best storytellers, if not the best storyteller. So if you feel a story coming on today, then don't hold back, because that's one of the reasons we all love you so much is because of your stories. But we are talking about purity of wealth in our conversation today. And I've got so many questions, and I'm sure anyone listening will have questions as well. And as Purina said, do put your questions in the chat if you have any questions that come into your mind, and we'll try and get to them towards the end of our conversation. But Mohan Bhai ji, if we begin this conversation with really trying to understand money, because it is something which affects us all. We've all journeyed with money throughout our lives, either because we don't have enough and we're trying to work out how to create more wealth and more money in our lives, or for other people, they have plenty of money, and the problem for them becomes how best to use the money, how to invest it, how to make the money work for them. And then there are those in the middle that have, you know, enough to get by, no complaints, but even still, they have to think about money. It is something which we all engage with in our lives. Can you talk a little bit about the significance of our karma and how that affects our relationship with money? How does that work?
Om Shanti. Well, all the other topics that you have taken up in this series relate to something internal, accepting food, which was an external thing. And now this money is altogether external thing. Therefore, it is apart from all other types of thoughts that we have discussed. Now, there is a saying, if wealth is lost, nothing is lost. We will deal with it later on. Now, this money, fortunately, today we had a Murli, Baba's Murli, which dealt with this subject, how we should be dealing with our money. I will use the word money because wealth is a lot of money. You know, wealthy people are different from all of us. Poor and rich use money. Now, karma. Actually, karma brings us everything. First of all, our body, where we are born, what type of body we get, what type of all other requirements, things surrounding that we get, all depend on our karma. And likewise, money also we get as per our karma, we lose as per our karma. It brings us happiness as per our karma. It also brings us sorrow as per our karma. It can be wasted as per our karmic account. It can be increased as per our karmic account. So basic thing is the store of karma or sanskaras which governs and guides our money.
That's very clear. I like that a lot. And you know, it's basically what you're saying is that everything we experience in this life, whatever it may be, our karma is entwined with that experience, and money is no exception. We do in the organization have this idea of serving with mind, body, and wealth. And that, for some people, is a strange idea, because you can understand how your mind and the thoughts that you're creating make an impact, how through your body you can do karma yoga, physical serving through your body. But as you say, money is something which is part of us, and yet it's something that just flows through us as well. And as you said at the beginning, if you lose your money, you've lost nothing. So I wonder if for you there is a sort of hierarchy of mind, body, and wealth is at the bottom, or do you think we should pay equal attention to all three of these?
Well, money is an external thing, not related with our mind and body. Use of money in any way, especially in godly service, means money serves the servers. Money provides the means and the ways and the facilities to the servers. So therefore money plays an equal part, because if the servers are well kept and they are comfortable, then they will serve better. Just as food, physical food, outside food serves the servers. If you are not having proper food, then your body will get damaged and then your service will get hindered. Similarly, money also goes that way. So it is one of the important factors, because in today's world, not in the golden age, in today's world, everything requires money. Originally, money was not required for anything. You see, if you look at it, nature provided us everything free. There was never a price or money on anything. It was plentiful. Later on, we put a price. Now we put a price on a bottle of water, for example, on everything almost. So therefore, this external factor has become important. So not to be luxurious, but to have comfortable life is very important for doing anything.
I'm wondering how the energy of money works as well, because we have this saying that, you know, if you want happiness, then give happiness. If you want love, then give love. In other words, whatever you're wanting in your life, start by giving it, and then you will receive it. Does the same happen with money, do you think? Is it something that the more you give, the more it flows back to you?
No, this process has to be understood. You know, when I was learning chartered accountancy, in accountancy, there is a principle which says what comes in is gain and what goes out is loss. This is a standard accountancy principle. When I came to Brahma Kumaris, I found that is not so. Because, you know, here, if you are getting, you are gaining, and if you are giving out, you are losing. But for happiness, you know, you have to give. Therefore, money can be put to any use. And if we use the money for acquiring, for getting, let us take the example of greed. They say, now what is the difference between a greedy person or a selfish person or a person who gives out and serves? Because giving gets happiness. Getting does not get happiness. This is a simple law. That is why the deities were called givers. Anyone who wants to experience happiness has to give. I will give you a small story. There was a king. He was reaching old age. Someone suggested that you distribute your wealth to your subjects. To that he agreed, and he made bags of wealth and fixed the timing, and they let the subjects come, they will get a bag of money every day. So there was a big queue. Now there was a beggar at the end of the queue. So when his turn came, he did not take that bag. He left that and got back, and again at the end of the queue, he joined. 2-3 times he did. There was a lot of publicity for him rather than for the king. That look, there is a beggar. Whenever his turn comes, he gives his turn and goes back. The king called him. He felt very jealous that, look, this man is getting all publicity. He said, you take 10 bags, but leave, don't do this drama. He said, Your Majesty, I am not doing the drama. I was watching from behind the queue. Every time you give the bag, you are happy. Every time you give the bag, you feel happy. And now I have nothing to give. So I give my turn and feel happy. So this is the...
That's really beautiful. I love that. So you've touched on the beggar there, and I want to, in a way, there's 2 sections to our conversation. One is the problem of not having any money, or the challenge of not having any money, and the other is what to do when you do have money. But if we begin with not having any money, and I think so many of us at some point in our life have an experience of really not having enough money. And especially with the pandemic, many people, through no fault of their own, have lost their business, have lost their jobs, their finances have been impacted. So there's probably more people at the moment experiencing this than before. What is the karma or what is the right action when it comes to getting yourself out of a financial difficulty? Is it okay to ask to borrow money from family, from friends, from the bank? Or does that create a bondage that you really want to avoid and you should find another way? What would you say to that?
Well, such situations come to individuals as well as to groups of people and to societies. For instance, in India, when India was partitioned and Pakistan was formed, a lot of people of one community came from Pakistan to India. So they were deprived of everything. But I found that after 3-4 years, they all got settled, and after about 20 years, they were millionaires and wealthy, It happened naturally. So any time you will find there is a calamity, there is an earthquake or anything, a mass scale, you just look that after a year or so, again that society sets up and establishes and everything becomes normal. So this phase does come in one's life. Not only does one lose money, you lose your relatives, your sport, you lose some limbs of your body even, but you will find that there is a natural adjustment. So in those situations, we have not to pre-plan what I should do. As the situation comes, many times help comes. You will find there are strange and wonderful ways of help coming. For instance, human society is so much divided today, but still, whenever there is a natural calamity, the whole world, all type of people go and send help, food, medicine, things, etc., etc. So automatically, even God says that when new world is formed, how much time it takes to have the golden palaces, it happens quickly. So therefore, there is no planning, but as a principle, borrowing money is a big burden, So first of all, many people these days, there is a financial trap, in the society. So things like credit card, this and that, making you to spend beyond your capacity. And people do not have a sort of a sense of distinguish between necessities and artificially created desires, so many things. So in the Brahma Kumaris, we simply have the formula that lead a simple life. You have spend money on all those things which are very conducive to your living, but nothing beyond that. So, simple living and high thinking, as it is said, that will help you to use the minimum of money on yourself, and therefore minimum money will come somehow. You will find many people who lose their parents or anything, they also get adjusted somehow. So there is a natural process, and why it happens is because of karma. Earlier it used to happen to few individuals casually. Now it is happening even to the whole communities, because the karma burden has become so big. As even today's Murli also, Baba has said it. You have a lot of debit balance or debt or burden of past karma.
I'm interested in in this aspect of when you don't have money, how you stay light. Because for most of us, when we don't have money, our mind is completely consumed by thinking about how to pay the bill, thinking about how to put food on the table. And I know the Brahma Kumaris went through a period of time that we call the beggary period, which basically was when Brahma Baba, the founder, when his original pot of money that was used to create the organization, when that ran out, there was a period of time when there was no money. And you came along just after that period of time. And I wonder what you observed in terms of how the brothers and sisters coped with that situation and the extent to which that affected their stage, their ability to be happy.
Because, there have to be tests and exams and situations to strengthen you, to strengthen your belief system, to strengthen your willpower. So actually, this beggar's role in the Brahma Kumaris was a part of that training. Although outwardly it looks like that a certain period came and there was no money and all that. And the lesson that we learn from that is that many souls were there who thought that now, the institution will disband and their very difficult times will come. So they themselves opted, told Brahma Baba that we want to go back to our Lokik families because that will help the yagya to reduce the spending of money. So they went, but the basic intention was not there. Their faith was shaken. And there were others who saw the Brahma Baba. He said, we are with Brahma Baba. He has to face the whole situation. We are with him. And they had so much faith that it will pass through. And now in retrospect, we find that the Brahma Kumaris have so many points to pass through that period. One is that everything will come to pass. That's a very standard thing. Nothing remains static. If it is night today, it will be day tomorrow. This is a very important factor. Add to that every cycle, after every 5,000 years, this situation comes. It came and we crossed it anyhow. So there is a lot of faith that we will pass this also. Thirdly, it gives you spiritual power. Many people have to starve even for many reasons. Sometimes there are wars and many other things. They get into wrong places. They still survive. So therefore, it is the soul, it was a lesson for the soul how to be different from the situation. That is to say, to rise above the situation, to feel the spiritual might. That is the test of one's character and strength. And that was a part of spiritual training. Today also, any BK, anyone who is in such situation should understand, number one, that this will come to pass. Nothing remains static. Secondly, I have crossed this situation innumerable times ago. And now also I am crossing it. Since I am here, after crossing it in the last cycle, it will also come to pass. So there is lot of faith. And the soul actually has lot of capacity to survive, even without many physical things. So all those things help one to pass this like that.
That's
And
lovely. Carry on.
yes, and the more we collect the stock of good karma, that is to say, the fruit of good karma that we are doing. And the good karma in here also is a very, very different type of good karma, making other souls self-sufficient and confident to make their own careers. So therefore, the goodwill that comes also helps, So many things are there.
So they can earn their own income. Because we have the teaching that, we are not our bodies, that we are the soul, we're separate from our bodies. And the same teaching applies to money. We are not our bank balance. Yes. And whether there's money or not money, we are still separate from that. And the daddies from that period used to talk about this phrase of being intoxicated beggars. In other words, externally, they had nothing, and yet their consciousness, their state of being was still blissful, because that was the true essence of who they were. They were able to separate who they are from what was going on financially, which is great.
A worldly person suffers poverty for many reasons. One is looking at others. That is why I say high thinking. If I start looking at others and feel that I should also be like them outwardly in my standard of living, then I become poor. So there is a saying, a contented beggar is like a king, and a greedy king is like a beggar. So therefore, we should understand it is also the state of mind. The richness, the wealth is not only this money. There is wealth in patience. Dadi Janki used to say, that you have to be patient, you have to be instrument. If I start relating myself to the thing, my belongings, then also I feel poor. And then you should be sweet. I mean, if my attitude to life is positive and I am sweet, I am quite wealthy. So there are many types of wealth other than this money wealth. So when you have lot of other wealth, which makes you contented, and Dadi Janki went a step further, intoxicated. Then, an intoxicated person, otherwise also, he has no feeling of the surrounding. He has his own world. And that person, you will find that many people who are mad also, they are talking to themselves and they are smiling and laughing because they are not aware of the surrounding. They are not concerned with the surrounding. Here, poverty comes also. That is to say, poverty of character, that is the worst type of poverty. That is why the saying ends with, if character is lost, everything is lost. And if wealth is lost, nothing is lost. So this poverty of character and the strength of character makes lots of difference.
I think all the daddies were very influenced by this experience, because obviously I spent many years with Dadi Janki, and her habit of being...
in the worldly sense also, there have been leaders like Winston Churchill of UK. Times were very bad, but he showed a V sign and all people got confidence, that changed the whole outlook of the people. And there are leaders, when a war starts, their faces become pale and they say, what is going to happen? And all the subjects are affected. So that is why strength of character is very important.
Absolutely. I was just going to say about Dadi Janki that she was always very strict about simplicity and not spending any more money than was absolutely necessary. And she told us the story once of wanting to give a gift of a bronze statue of the three wise monkeys. And she found it in the marketplace for 12 rupees. but she managed to trace it back to the original foundry that had made this statue, and she was able to purchase it from them directly for 3 rupees, because she could save a little bit of money like that. Another question for you. I'm thinking within Hinduism, there is this understanding of Lakshmi as the goddess of wealth, and people will do devotion to Lakshmi in the hope that they will get some prosperity. And in other religions, people maybe will pray to God to give them a lucky break when it comes to their finances. Does God ever help us out with money? Does God ever kind of smooth the way so that we can have access to a good ride with money? Does that ever happen?
God's slogan is, God helps those who help themselves. It is very important that we have to take the step. As I was talking, if you have all other types of wealth, money follows like a shadow. There is a story of soup stone, The times were bad, there was starvation, and there was an army soldier, and people had no food at all. Nobody was ready to offer food to a stranger altogether. So that person, army person, had a stone. And he went to a family and said, this stone can make soup, They were all excited. And then he said, all right, boil the water, put the stone here. Then he said, bring some salt, bring a potato, and like that. And all of them enjoyed their soup, and then he took back his stone in the pocket. The basic idea is your approach can lead you to help to make other people help you. This is just a story, but basic idea is, if a person, this money actually, God says, is like a shadow. Just as good health, for example, good family relationships, all those things automatically come to a good soul. It's simple as that. As the seed, so will be the plant, and so will be the fruit. Soil is the same. If you sow a sugar beet, you will get sugar beets. If you sow a chili, you will get chilies. So therefore, it all follows the state of your soul, the state of your mind, the positivity of your attitude, which means you are fearless, you are positive, you are confident, everything will come. This is my own experience in life also. Anyone can try and do this. Other things that just follow. Nature provides you what you really are longing for. A bad person will be provided with, just as a chili is provided by all the ingredients by nature to produce a bitter chili. And a sugar cane is provided by all the ingredients by the nature to produce that one. There was a vardhan in the recent Murli of the rose flower, that a rose flower attracts fragrance even from dirty, those things. So compost. That's very compost. So this is very important.
Beautiful. It was a lovely point. I remember it. The Brahma Kumaris is quite an unusual, very unusual organization in that it works on donations, on what we call gifting basis. It doesn't charge for any of the things that it does. And I can't think of another organization of this size that operates in that way. Can you say something about the magic of giving from your heart and trusting, and also the importance of donation?
Well, this word donation is not very appropriate in how the Brahma Kumaris get money. But this is a very close word to what is happening, This is used for charities and other things and other things. This Brahma Kumaris model is a very good practical example for anyone to understand about the importance of money, or the little importance of money that it is there. Basic thing is, The Brahma Kumaris don't make any budget. The Brahma Kumaris don't seek any donations. The Brahma Kumaris always give because simple process is giving is getting, and there is a fundamental law that if you give and just give and you don't require anything, then you become the giver only. Everything will come to you because you can only give if you have. So people think if I give, what I have will be gone, but that is not so. See the process of rainfall, for example. Actually, the rainfall is caused by the ocean, but there is a cyclic system and it goes back again to the ocean. And when God says perfection, take the example of sun, the sun, physical sun. Now the physical sun only gives and gives heat and light. It never requires any heat and light. How it comes that it goes on giving heat and light to all people, but because it has attained perfection. Similarly, you will find tree. A tree is only giving fruit and it is not eating its own fruit. There is a basic thing. If a bulb is giving light, it is not giving to itself. It is giving to others. If the chair is giving comfort, it is not giving to itself. It is giving to others. In fact, in the universe, whole thing is giving. And if one understands the process of giving, getting will automatically come. This is on what the Brahma Kumaris function. Basically, you will find nothing exists for itself. Everything exists for others. You see, if one can understand that, the rivers don't drink their own water, the trees don't eat their own fruit, the fan doesn't give air to itself. Like that you will find. So if you have to be in conformity with the universal system, that is what Brahma Kumaris do. You just give and you will get. Money is a little thing. Money is only a small thing. You get everything.
Beautiful. That's such lovely examples you've given. I'd like to share a little story on the importance of giving, because Daddy Janki used to have a saying, where your money goes, your mind will follow.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a story when she was in Pune in the early days of some brothers who were coming to the center, and she said, you need to give a little bit of money from your earnings. And they said, oh, we can't afford any money. And she said, well, how are you coming to the center? And they said, on the bus. And she said, okay, you walk to the center and you put that money in the box for the running of the center. And they did this for a long time. And then it happened that they got a promotion. And they put all the money for the month in the box, and then they took the bus. And Daddy Janki said, well, no, that's not how it operates. It's not like you eat one big meal a month and the rest of the month you don't eat anything. You have to be giving little and often, because there's something in the act of giving the money that makes your mind go to the thing that you're giving to. And that creates the loving relationship, the feeling, the connection. And you've touched on that already in your story of the beggar who gave to the king. But could you say a few more words about the way in which the things that we put our money into pulls our mind?
I have my own story. Brahma Baba, I was doing practice as a chartered accountant, as the lawyers do their own office. Brahma Baba guided me that, child, you give up your own practice, join a job, because there your mind will be free. So I joined the job, and the first salary that I got, I made a bank draft, sent by registered post to Mount Abu to Brahma Baba. It is in India, there is a custom, first salary you send to your guru. So, to my surprise, Brahma Baba returned that bank draft by registered post back to me. And my age was about 22 years at that point of time. Now you see a young person, how much he will be influenced that there is an institution in the world who returns you money. So this is how I learned about the role of money in a BK's life. So I then wrote a letter to Brahma Baba, because Brahma Baba used to say that I accept only pure money, I accept honest money, I accept money only from those who are really devoted BKs, because I have to return it manifold and so on. So I wrote to Brahma Baba that you have returned this draft. This money is honest. It is from a government job, and you had directed me to do that job, and I am sending it with good intention. Why you are not accepting it? Because you have these conditions. Then Brahma Baba wrote me a letter that, child, this time I am accepting, but hereafter you don't send. Now the lesson for me was that if I would be sending money to the yajna every month from my salary, it means rest of it is mine, and only what I am sending to the yajna is being sent for godly service. But Brahma Baba wanted me to learn, no, you are part of me, your home is part of yajna, and your money is also part of yajna money. You spend it yourself in the interest of yajna. That is to give the whole, you will feel that the whole I am using for yajna service. So from this you can understand how much I was, my young mind would have been deeply impressed that, here in this institution, money is not what is sought, because normally everywhere else they first start with money. And here, there are so many stories that the BKs went to US and they wanted a hall for their program, and they approached that person that please give us hall free of charge, because we are not charging any money for this thing. That person was surprised that you are giving all these lectures free of charge. He had never heard of that. He said, no, you also charge and I am also charging, like that, So their outlook was like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's such a lovely story. I'm just going to remind anyone who's with us in this conversation, if you'd like to post a question for Brij Mohan Bhai on the subject of money. Obviously, we can't get into your individual finances, so it's more the philosophy around money. But if you would like to put a question, please feel free to do so in the chat box. You talked there about the money having come from your government job. And what I understood by that was that it was clean money. It was money that had been earned in an honest, authentic way. How important is that? And should we make sure we know where the money has come from? And so in other words, if we're buying clothes from a clothing manufacturer that has made those clothes by exploiting children and in factories, should we not buy those clothes because in some way we're entering into that karmic entanglement of exploitation? How do we keep our money clean?
Well, I had gone to Colombia once, and in the center, one brother asked me a similar question. He was a bus driver. He said, I know that the bus I am driving belongs to a mafia. Mm-hmm. And I am driving this bus. Is it okay for me that the money that I get from driving that bus, is it honest money? Is it well-earned money? I told him that you are driving bus with passengers who are getting the service. And of course, it may have been owned by some bad people, and the profit may be going to them. But your money is honestly earned and you are rendering a service. And therefore, it is pure money. So like that, we have to relate so many things. There are so many factors which come into play. Otherwise, one will get confused. Brahma Baba, there was a BK bus conductor in Delhi. He had a large family, And many times in India, the conductors keep the money, don't issue the ticket, so that money becomes extra illegally earned money. He told Brahma Baba that, Baba, my situation is such that I have a large family. My salary is not enough. I am doing this. He is asking the Brahma Baba directly, what do you think about it? Then Brahma Baba said, now you are a BK, and this is wrong thing. But if you still feel it is very, very necessary for my living, do it to the minimum. Now, no religious head will guide like that. But Brahma Baba, seeing the real situation, gave a realistic answer to him. Baba said that what is minimum at all, only you do that, otherwise this is illegal. So like that. Similarly, about money, Dadi Janki told me an example that there was a brother living in the town, and his parents were in the village, and he got a promotion, more money in his job. And he used to send money to his parents every month. The now parents said that now that you have got more salary, you send us more. He came to Dadi Janki, what should I do? So Dadi Janki said, do whatever you decide, but see that their greed and your attachment does not grow. So this is the principle on which we follow these things.
So this is where having your values very firmly in place informs all these decisions about how you live your life. And you're talking there about the bus that was owned by the mafia. And, in a way, if our money is in a bank, the banks these days are involved in all sorts of, activities that you might not want. I'm just...
One thing
Sorry?
more important, that all the principles do not apply to all people. That is very important. There is a ideal, and then there is something realistic. So each one, according to their capacity of doing, it also has to be adjusted. We can't have a hard and fast rule, do like this only, because if the situation changes, then the solution also changes. This is a rider to this.
Mm-hmm. So it's different for different people. We've got one question that has come in from Pooja about this topic of donation, and making donation to religious organizations or to other charities or groups or whatever. If that organization or religion uses that money for something which would incur bad karma, does that karma come back to you because you gave the money that enabled them to do that? Or is there a separation that once you've given it, you're off the hook in terms of what happens to that money?
No, one has to watch. First of donation is a very tricky thing, because and in today's time, there are people who are exploiting this donation for wrongful purposes. So therefore, in the Brahma Kumaris, the principle is, don't give donation in money at all to anyone. If there is a need, somebody is hungry, you can give that person food, you can give another person clothes or medicine or shelter or whatever, but don't give donation in money, because that can be misused and the sin of that will come on you. One has to be very, very particular about this.
Okay, but that's very clear. Which is why giving to the Brahma Kumaris feels good, because the Brahma Kumaris are going to treat that money in a very clean way. The questions are beginning to come in now. Another one, could you say something about the difference between wanting to better your life and do well and be successful and have a comfortable lifestyle, and when does that tip into greed? Because the young generation are wanting to become successful and make something of themselves, and yet is that right or not?
This is normally the attitude of people. They are trying to be comfortable in an uncomfortable world. What I mean to say is, you are trying to be perfect in an imperfect world. So, do in Rome as Romans do. Basically, what is success? The Brahma Kumari's definition of success is not gain, praise, like that, victory. It is to be equanimous in victory and defeat, in gain and loss, in respect and defilement. So that is success. So that success, you have to adjust your thinking of what is comfortable life to that. The real strength lies that in all situations you should be comfortable. That is the real comfortable life which the Brahma Kumaris tell people to do. And once a person experiences that, he will go for that and not for this type of comforts which are very temporary, transient, and anytime those can be lost, And then there is no end to that. That is why nobody can beat you in simplicity. But if you become fashionable, then there are more and more people. There is no end to that. So better be simple.
Such a great answer. Such a great answer. I love that. And another question, how do you avoid hurting people's feelings if they want money and you don't give it, or the other way around, you take it and somehow that creates an upset?
We have to go to the real meaning of the hurt. A hurt is a real hurt, and a hurt is an artificially created hurt also. Supposing someone wants me to go against my rules and principles and lifestyle and do something which is not right, and just not to hurt his feelings, I will not do that wrong. You see, that is as simple as that. So I have to see what is beneficial, what is good for that person also. Because otherwise, if I start thinking of hurting feeling, today's, people have got artificially created desires, artificially, 90% desires today are artificially created by, media, publicity, and so many things, that if you do this, you will do that, They will bring a healthy person and give him a pack of food, and they say this as if this food has made him healthy. But so that is not so. It is so much deception. So people get deceived. So that we have not to join their deception.
So we're playing the game by our rules and our values and what feels right. And if someone chooses to be hurt, then that is up to them. So thanks, Anupa and Sarapi, for your two questions. That was really great. Sadly, we're out of time, Brij Mohan Bhai. I feel like we've literally scratched the surface of this subject. It's so deep, and you've got so much experience and anecdotes to draw on. It's absolutely fascinating. But, we want to close within the time that we agreed with everybody. So if we call it a day for now, and maybe we can return to the subject another time. But before we say goodbye, could you just lead us into a meditation and just a moment of silence that we can share together? That would be really great.
Okay. Om Shanti.